I had only been back stateside for 6 weeks when the call came. I didn't tell anyone I'd returned except my landlord, the guy at the UPS store where I forwarded my mail, and my grandfather. The army didn't throw a party when I came home, nor did I. I went from a field hospital in Kuwait to a quiet apartment outside Springfield, Missouri, with a mattress on the floor and 3 days' worth of clean clothes. It was fine. I didn't need balloons. I needed peace. So when my phone lit up with a call from Grandpa Walter, I figured it was another check-in. The man never forgot to ask if I was eating right, sleeping enough, or staying out of civilian trouble, whatever that meant. His voice came through, warm and loud as ever. "Father's Day's coming up, kid. I'm firing up the grill. Whole family's coming." I didn't respond right away. He filled the pause like he always did. "Even Dennis said they'll bring that awful potato salad no one eats. You should come. Haven't seen you since you got back." That part was genuine. I hadn't gone to see him. Not yet. "Yeah," I said. "I can probably swing by. Bring that Mercedes if you can," he added casually. "It ought to stretch its legs a little, huh?" I hesitated. I haven't really been driving much," I said. "Might just take the bus." "You sure?" he asked. Not suspicious, just surprised. "Yeah. Cheaper than gas," I lied. He laughed, said something about inflation, and moved on. Asked about my work. I told him it was quiet. He didn't press. We hung up after 10 minutes, like usual. But I didn't move for a while. I just sat on the floor, my phone in my lap, staring at the scuffed baseboard under the window. I wasn't broke. I had a steady military pension. I had savings. I had no reason to take the bus unless you count that the Mercedes he gave me wasn't in my possession anymore, and hadn't been for months. I'd tried to justify it. Tried to tell myself maybe I was being ungrateful. Maybe I misunderstood, that families borrow things all the time. But the truth was, no one ever gave it back, and no one ever said thank you. And the way I'd stopped pushing? That said, enough about how small they still saw me. The Mercedes wasn't just a car. It was a message from the one person in the family who thought I was capable. And now it was sitting in someone else's garage, registered under a name that wasn't mine, and I had said nothing. I let it happen. Until now. Drop a comment if you've ever had to play it cool around family to keep the peace. And hit subscribe if you're into family revenge stories that don't pull punches. It wasn't about the car anymore. It was about showing up. And this time, I wasn't going to show up small. I stood up, grabbed the keys off the hook knot, the car keys, just the apartment ones, and opened the closet to pull out the sundress I hadn't worn since graduation. That dress was the same one I wore the day Grandpa handed me the keys. I remember because it still had the tiny tear near the hem where I'd caught it on the back of a folding chair that morning. The memory came back clearer than I expected. The smell of barbecue smoke in the backyard, Grandpa wiping his hands on a rag as he opened the garage, and me thinking he would show me the new tool set he got on sale. Instead, there it was, the Mercedes. Not new, not flashy, just clean, well-kept, and unmistakably out of place next to his rusted riding mower. I thought maybe he was selling it or fixing it for a neighbor. Then he looked at me and tossed me the keys. 2017. Used. Reliable. Doesn't leak anything important, he said. It's yours. I froze. Wait, what? You need something solid to get started. Something that's yours. He tapped the roof with his knuckles like it meant something more than just metal and paint. I know you said you didn't want a party when you came home, but this felt right. I couldn't even find words. He didn't ask for a speech, just opened the door and gestured for me to sit in the driver's seat. A folded note in the glove compartment, written in Grandpa's all-caps handwriting, half cursive, half block print. It said, "So you can go where you want. On your terms." I cried in the car before I drove it. Not hard, not messy, just quiet. I didn't cry in uniform, not when the plane landed, not when I dropped my rucksack on the apartment floor, but sitting in that Mercedes with the paper in my hand, that cracked me. No one else in the family had ever given me something without strings. Not Dennis, not Jolene, and not my step-siblings, who couldn't even be bothered to text when I was overseas. Grandpa didn't need me to earn it again. He just gave it because he saw me as someone who already had. I drove straight from his house to the license office that same afternoon. We filled out the paperwork together. His signature was shaky but solid. He made a copy for his records. I asked if he wanted to keep the car registered in his name for insurance purpose. She waved me off. It's yours. If they can trust you with field hospitals and soldiers, they can trust you with a damn car. That night, I parked it outside my apartment and checked the window every 10 minutes as if it might disappear. It didn't. Not then. Over the next 2 weeks, I took it everywhere: grocery runs, job interviews, even just to drive around the lake and clear my head. That car didn't just move, it breathed with me. Then came the call from Dennis. Calm at first. We should bring the car in, get the inspection done, maybe get the title sorted while we're at it. He hesitated. It'll be easier if we handle it here, he said. My girlfriend, Jolene, she's got contacts at the DMV. I didn't love the idea, but I didn't argue. I trusted that it'd come back. I dropped the car off the next day and took a ride-share home. That was the last time I sat in the driver's seat. At first, I wasn't worried. They said it needed repairs, then emissions. Then it got tied up in some kind of system backlog. Every time I asked, there was a new story, a new wait time, a new excuse. The tone shifted over time. From, just be patient, to, why are you making this a big deal? And eventually, you're lucky we're helping. The note from the glove box stayed in my desk drawer. I stopped looking at it. The dress went back in the closet. I told myself I didn't need to fuss over something so small. But it wasn't small. And I knew it. So I zipped up the sundress, grabbed the pie I'd picked from the store, and threw my bag over my shoulder. I wasn't bringing a car to the BBQ. But I was bringing something else. The bus stop was 2 blocks from my apartment, but the walk felt longer with the pie box tilting in my hand, and that sundress clinging tighter than I remembered. I wasn't even halfway down the sidewalk when I thought about the day I dropped the car off at my dad's place. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. He'd made it sound like a simple favor. Just take it in for emissions and registration. Maybe call in a favor at the DMV to speed things up. I'll handle it, he'd said, like it was a burden he was generously taking off my plate. You've got enough on your hands. At the time, I agreed. I was still adjusting to civilian life, waking up at 5 a.m. out of habit. Driving the Mercedes felt like a dream I wasn't sure I'd earned yet. Letting him take care of the paperwork felt efficient, practical, safe. The first delay came the next morning. Jolene texted me. Looks like it needs a smog check. Shop's booked until next week. We'll keep you posted. I responded with a thumbs up. That was it. A week passed. Then another. Next, it was the insurance. We had to pause things because the coverage isn't transferring correctly. Something with the address mismatch. Hang tight, as if I were asking for a favor, not checking on the thing I legally owned. Then came silence. Days turned to weeks. Every time I asked about the car, I got less and less information. We're just keeping it safe, Jolene said when I called her one evening. Her voice was warm, sugary as always. It's not going anywhere. Okay, I said, unsure whether I was being paranoid or pushy. Maybe it's better this way for now, she added. For now? I asked. I mean, you're still getting settled, right? No need to stress over car stuff when you've got a lot on your plate. And that's when it shifted. I didn't catch it at first, but the tone changed from helpful to patronizing, support to control. A few days later, Dennis called me. Hey, Jolene mentioned you're asking about the car again? Yeah, I said. Just wondering where things are at. It's been over a month. Mallory, he said, using that voice, the one that made me feel 12 again. You just got back from deployment. You're tired. Let us handle it. I'm not tired, I said flatly. You say that, but we've seen how you get. You push yourself. You don't need to worry about this right now. Focus on getting your life in order. My life is in order, I said, heat rising in my throat. He ignored that. We'll let you know when the title's sorted. That was the last real update I got. After that, every text I sent went unanswered for days. Every phone call went to voicemail. When I did get through, the responses were vague. Still checking, or not yet, or worse. Why are you so worked up about this? So I stopped asking. I told myself they were busy. I told myself maybe I was overreacting, that maybe letting it go for now was better than starting a fight. They hadn't said I couldn't have the car back, they were just slow, caught up, distracted. Right? I wanted to believe that. Until one Thursday morning, 3 months after I handed over the keys, I checked Google Maps and pulled up the address to my dad's house, just curious, no reason. I tapped the street view. There it was. The Mercedes. Parked in the driveway like it belonged there. I stared at the image, heart thudding in my chest. It was recently dated 2 weeks ago. They weren't keeping it safe. They were using it. I called. No answer. I texted. No reply. I stared at the screen, and for the first time something in me snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, but with the kind of quiet precision you only learn after being underestimated one too many times. I opened my laptop, logged into the DMV site, dug through my records. The title had been updated. New owner, Jolene Reese. No notification, no conversation, just a legal transfer behind my back. The name on the car was no longer mine. And I had said nothing. I shut the laptop, sat perfectly still, and realized my jaw had been clenched so tight my teeth ached. My apartment was quiet except for the fridge's hum and the faint sound of tires outside. For some reason, the stillness made it worse. The silence agreed with me, confirming what I didn't want to admit. Something wasn't right. I stared at Jolene's name on the DMV screen until the letters stopped looking real. Then I clicked out of it, closed everything, and just sat there. The Mercedes was in her name now. Officially. They'd forged my signature or convinced me to sign something without telling me the truth. I tried to think back. I remembered signing the original transfer with Grandpa. He even made me keep a copy. But nothing after that. Nothing gives Dennis or Jolene permission to transfer anything, which meant they did it themselves. And I let them. I was still sitting there when my phone buzzed. A text from my dad. Coming by this weekend? Jolene's making chili. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just erased me off a legal document. I didn't reply. The next day, I took a rideshare across town and got dropped off 2 blocks from their house. I didn't call. Didn't warn them. Just walked the rest of the way, hoodie up, sunglasses on. When I turned the corner and saw their driveway, I felt my stomach tighten. The Mercedes wasn't there. Gone. Just like that. I walked past slowly, pretending to check my phone. Nothing looked different about the house. Same wind chimes, same lawn flamingos Jolene insisted were retro. But the space where the car had been on Google Maps? Empty now. Clean. I didn't ring the doorbell. I kept walking, rounded the block, and sat on the nearby bus bench. If I had confronted them, right then, what would I have said? I tried to picture the conversation. Hey, why is your name on the car title? Oh, we just help speed things up. And why haven't I seen it since? Well, you didn't need it. The more I imagined it, the angrier I got. Not because they would deny it, but because they'd sound reasonable. Smiling, calm, patronizing as hell. I went home and started digging through everything I had. The envelope from Grandpa was still in my desk drawer. Inside, he signed the original bill of sale, with my name printed. He'd even paperclipped a note to it. Make sure you keep this safe. DMV copies things wrong all the time. I didn't have proof of what happened after that, but had a trail. A before and after. That was something. I looked through my photos. Found one of me standing next to the car the day he gave it to me. I hadn't posted it online. It wasn't meant for anyone else. I'd sent it to him, though, and he'd texted back, "Proud of you, Major." I reread that message more times than I cared to admit. The following weekend, I called Jolene. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, sweetie," she said, voice bright. "I was in the area," I said. "Thought I'd stop by, but I didn't see the Mercedes in the driveway." A pause. Just a beat too long. "Oh, yeah, Dennis took it out. Needed to grab something from the store. At 7 a.m.? Another pause. This one lasts longer. "Well, you know him. Up early, always moving." "Right," I said. "Everything okay?" she asked, feigning concern. "You sound tense." I wanted to say yes. I wanted to ask why you registered my car in your name, but I didn't. Not yet. I wasn't done collecting. I waited until the next day, then went back. This time, with a purpose. I walked by again, slower. The car was there, parked neatly, shiny, freshly washed, as if nothing had happened, as if it had always been theirs. I didn't stop, didn't knock, just looked at it and kept going. I wasn't angry, not in that loud, screaming way people expect. I was clear. Sharp. I didn't know what I would do yet, but I knew one thing. They were hiding it now, and people only hide what they know they shouldn't have. That night, I sat on the floor with every file, photo, and scrap of paper I could find, spreading them out like puzzle pieces I wasn't willing to lose twice. I started with what I knew. The original bill of sale from Grandpa, the text messages confirming the gift, the photo of me next to the car. Then I opened my laptop again, this time not just to look, but to dig. I logged into the Missouri Department of Revenue portal and visited the title history page. I plugged in the VIN, which I still remember, because I'd typed it out many times during the original insurance setup. A few seconds later, the record loaded. And there it was. A title transfer dated the 8th of November of last year. New owner, Jolene Reese. No co-owner listed. No indication that it had ever been in my name. Nothing. They'd wiped me off the record completely. I clicked the link to view the scanned title transfer form. It didn't show my signature. Instead, it listed vehicle acquired by gift as the reason for the transfer. A box was checked. No sales tax due on family transfer, and typed under previous owner was Grandpa's name. So either they used outdated paperwork from him or forged something altogether. I didn't know which was worse. I opened a new tab and pulled up my email inbox, searched Mercedes and title. Nothing from Jolene, nothing from Dennis. Just one email from me to them, sent 6 months ago. Hey, just checking in any updates on the car stuff? Let me know if you need anything from me to move things forward. No reply. I took a screenshot of it. I kept digging, opened my insurance provider's portal. When I tried to log in to view the old policy, it flagged the VIN as already registered to another active account. I clicked Contact Support, typed in the question directly. Hi. I'm trying to insure a car I previously owned, but it seems to be registered under someone else. Can you confirm who currently holds the policy? The automated reply came a few minutes later. I skimmed until I saw the name, Jolene Reese. Of course. She'd activated the policy weeks after I gave them the car for inspection. So it wasn't a delay. It was a transfer. It was intentional. I sat back on the rug, stared at the ceiling, and exhaled. My jaw didn't ache this time. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't hurt. I was focused. This wasn't some misunderstanding. It wasn't just a paperwork error or a favor that got out of hand. They had taken it slowly, quietly, piece by piece, and pretended it was never mine. And the worst part? They knew exactly what that car meant to me. They knew it wasn't about luxury or convenience. It was about being seen, trusted, freed from having to prove myself. And instead, they buried it like it was a secret. I opened my voice memo app. I'd used it before, primarily for recording notes to myself after long shifts or when I couldn't sleep. But then I remembered something else. A conversation I'd recorded months ago. I scrolled through old files and tapped kitchen per milliampere RH. It opened. The audio crackled slightly. Dennis, she's not thinking straight right now. I mean, she just got back. You know how she gets. Jolene. Exactly. And that car? It's too much responsibility. You saw how she parked it 3 feet from the curb. Dennis. We're doing her a favor, really. She can't manage something like that yet. Jolene. And she'll thank us later, when she settles down. I listened to it again, letting the words sink in, slow and deliberate. They hadn't just taken a car. They had taken a decision that wasn't theirs to make. Declared me unfit for adulthood without saying it out loud. Wrapped it in concern and called it love. I renamed the audio file, Proof, Taken, Not, Lost, Wave. Then I backed it up in 3 places. Cloud, hard drive, email draft to myself. And for the first time in months, I felt something settle in my chest, not peace, not victory, but certainty, cold and quiet. I didn't know how I was going to use this yet. But I knew I wasn't done. I closed the laptop, stood up, and shut the folder like I was packing a weapon, not documents. The next morning, I drove a borrowed car to my dad's place, not out of convenience but principle. I wouldn't show up on foot, while my car sat in his driveway like some shared family heirloom. I wanted eye contact when I asked. When he opened the door, he looked surprised. Not guilty, not nervous, just vaguely inconvenienced, like I'd shown up without texting first. "Hey, Mallory. You okay?" "I need to talk," I said. "Inside." End quote. He stepped aside and I walked in without waiting for an invitation. Jolene was in the kitchen, pretending not to eavesdrop while stirring something on the stove. I stayed standing. "I've got a question," I said, calm and flat. "Whose name is on the Mercedes?" Jolene turned around slowly. "We already told you." "No," I said. "You deflected. You danced around it. Now I'm asking directly." Dennis sighed, rubbing his temple like I was giving him a headache. "It's under Jolene's name now," he said. "We had to." "No, you didn't." He blinked. "Excuse me? You didn't have to do anything. You chose to take it, behind my back, and now you're standing here acting like you're the victims of my tone." "We weren't hiding anything," Jolene said. "It was just getting too complicated. You weren't using the car. I wasn't using it because you had it." "It wasn't practical," Dennis added, palms up like he was being reasonable. "You're bouncing between jobs, still figuring out your next steps. We figured we'd keep the car stable until things settled down." I stared at him. "You figured you'd decide when my life was stable enough to get back what was already mine?" He didn't answer. "I went to the DMV. I saw the paperwork. I saw the date. I saw the insurance switch. You made choices that weren't yours to make, and you never once asked me." "Hast." "Mallory," Jolene said, smiling like a teacher explaining something to a child, "you're not seeing the full picture." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the gaslighting was that predictable. "I've got the full picture, trust me. Paperwork, emails, and even a little audio, if you'd like a preview." Dennis flinched, just for a second. "You recorded us?" "You bet I did." His voice sharpened. "You think you're proving something by coming in here swinging?" "Number." "I already proved it. You're just upset the curtain got pulled." Jolene crossed her arms. "We didn't do this to hurt you." "Then what would you call it? Helping? Protecting me?" Silence. I stepped closer, voice steady. "You didn't take the car because I couldn't handle it. You took it because I could, and that scared the hell out of you. Because if I had the keys, I wouldn't need you. And you can't stand that." They both stared, frozen. "You don't get to rewrite this. Not this time." I made her. Jolene opened her mouth to speak, but I was already turning to the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't make a scene. I didn't need to. Because for once, I'd said it all out loud and they had nothing left to say. I walked straight to my car, started the engine, and let it idle while I stared through the windshield, fists resting on the wheel, jaw locked. I wasn't even sure where I was driving at first. I circled the block twice, hands stiff, thoughts racing. Then I pulled into the parking lot of a strip mall coffee shop and sat with an iced tea I didn't want, scrolling through old texts from Grandpa. There weren't many, just short messages, mostly check-ins. Always simple, always sincere. "Let me know if you got home safe. Proud of you, kid. Planning a BBQ for Father's Day. You better show up or I'm sending Jasper to come find you." That last one made me snort. I could almost hear his voice, half serious, half chuckling. The invitation had come in last week. I hadn't replied. I'd been avoiding it like I'd avoided him for the past year. Not out of spite, but shame. Shame that I hadn't told him the truth. Shame that I'd let Dennis and Jolene chip away at me without a fight. I told myself he was too old to deal with the drama. He didn't need to know that it would sort itself out eventually. But now I realize that silence protects the wrong people. He gave me that car with complete trust, with pride. And I'd let it be taken under his nose, pretending it didn't matter. Pretending I was fine. I wasn't. I opened our last thread and finally typed something. "I'll be there Sunday." Almost immediately, he replied. "There's my girl. Chicken, corn, and peach cobbler with your name on it." I stared at the screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard, then typed back. "Can you promise Jolene will be there?" 3 dots appeared. Then, "Of course. Whole family's invited." "Why?" "No reason." "Lawn it." I sat back in the booth, heart pounding in that quiet, focused way. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going there to start a fight. But I was done playing the part of the passive daughter. I would walk into that backyard, shake his hand, hug him like nothing was wrong, and then looked Jolene in the face like she hadn't gotten away with anything. Not this time. Because this wasn't about a car anymore. It was about walking back into a place where they thought I didn't belong, and reminding them who I was. I spent the next 2 days gathering everything I had: documents, photos, that recording, organizing it into a single folder on my phone like I was suiting up for war, only cleaner. I knew it wasn't going to be a yelling match. No one ever raised their voice in our family, especially not in front of Grandpa. We were more of the smile through gritted teeth kind. If you got caught, you didn't explain. You rephrased. You softened. You pivoted. And if you got cornered, you deflected until the conversation lost interest and wandered off. I wasn't letting that happen this time. I arrived Sunday 10 minutes early, walked the side path to the backyard, and waved to Grandpa, who was already by the grill in a Navy apron that said, "BBQ Commander." He looked up, face lighting up like he hadn't seen me in years, which he hadn't. "Mallory," he called, flipping a burger. "There she is." Jasper, his beagle, ran up to me, wagging like I was 12. I gave him a quick pat on the head, then hugged Grandpa one-armed, careful not to knock the tongs out of his hand. "You came," he said. "Didn't think you'd make it." I shrugged. Didn't want to miss the cobbler. Smart girl. I scanned the yard. Same folding tables, same paper plates, identical lukewarm lemonade. Cousins clustered near the fence. Aunt Teresa was setting out a bowl of potato salad that no one would touch. And the Bluetooth speaker was playing that one playlist Grandpa thought was modern country. Everything felt like a rerun. Except me. I didn't go inside initially, but I knew I'd need to. The folder was prepped, waiting on my phone. My evidence is that if anyone tried to gaslight me again. But I didn't expect to pass by the garage on my way to grab an extra chair and see the side door cracked open. Just a sliver. Just enough to notice the gleam. My feet moved before I finished thinking. I stepped closer, peered in. There it was. The Mercedes. My Mercedes. Parked near the back, behind a folding table. Next to bags of mulch and a rusty lawnmower. Clean. Shiny. Untouched. It looked almost staged, like they'd tucked it to make it harder to explain. I stood there, one hand on the doorframe, stomach tight. So they hadn't sold it. They hadn't donated it. They just kept it. Like a toy taken from a child and stored high on a shelf, just out of reach. I stepped inside and ran my hand along the hood. The paint was smooth, cool. I looked through the windshield. The driver's seat was pushed back too far for me. Jolene always liked more legroom. I opened the door. It was unlocked. I slid into the seat, breathing in that faint scent of leather and old air freshener. I adjusted the mirror and set my hands on the wheel. It still fit. No keys, of course. But I didn't need to drive it. Not yet. I just needed to feel it. Like reclaiming part of yourself they thought you'd forget. I sat for a minute, listening to the muffled backyard chatter, and then gently shut the door again. By the time I stepped back into the sunlight, nothing about my expression had changed. But everything inside me had. I slipped my phone from my purse, opened the folder marked Receipts, and tapped through the files one more time like a pilot running final checks before takeoff. 5 core items were in the folder. Tight, tidy, and indisputable.